All right, this is case 23-1581. This is People versus Demeyers. Appearances for the record, please.
Good morning, Your Honor. AP Mark Buxton on behalf of the people of the state of Michigan.
Good morning, Your Honor. Sharon Nickel from the Ingham County Public Defender's Office on behalf of Mr. Demeyers, who's to my left at counsel table.
Is the day and time set for the exam? Is that right?
That is correct, Your Honor. The people are ready to proceed.
Any preliminary matters before we get started?
Not from people, Your Honor.
Your Honor, for sequestration of the two officers that were sitting in today.
They're both here in the courtroom, Your Honor.
Sequestration is actually going to work, but one of them will be testifying, and the other one is probably the principal officer who's allowed to be in the courtroom. Obviously, we don't want to talk about the testimony, which is what sequestration is about, but I don't think we actually have to have you moved from the courtroom. So you're going to start with the other officer, right?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay. Anything else?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, let's get started. Call your first witness.
People call Deputy Morris Luckett.
Want to have the lead officer join the counsel table?
The Deputy Luckett will be my lead officer, Your Honor.
Oh, okay. Then if that's the case, then the other gentleman, I guess, could wait outside. Then.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I can get you to raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the information that you provide to the court will be the whole truth? Please have a seat. And I can get you to state your complete name and spell out your first and last name.
My name is Deputy Morris Luckett. First name is Morris, last is Luckett.
Questions for the officer?
Thank you, Your Honor. Deputy Luckett, how are you employed?
I work for the County Sheriff's Office, Division of Road Patrol.
How long have you been working there?
A little over 4 years.
Were you working on August 6th, 2023?
Yes.
In what capacity?
I was working General Patrol, Road Patrol, Field Services.
Were you in your uniform at the time?
Yes.
Were you in a, what was your vehicle?
For the Sheriff's Office Patrol vehicle.
Did you end up getting into a chase of an individual on that day?
Yes.
Could you please explain the start of that interaction?
Yeah, so I was actually training Deputy Allen, so he was in the driver's seat, I was in the passenger seat. We were just conducting General Patrol, observed a vehicle at the Dunkin' Donuts, I don't recall the street address, but it's at the intersection of Howard Road, Hope Road.
Is that in the township of Delhi?
Yes. Observed at the gas pump, observed the individual, black male, outside the vehicle. I guess nothing abnormal at that point. Saw it had a temp tag on it. It was a Chrysler 300, or I think it was maroon in color. So we attempted to.
Did you get a chance to look at this individual?
Yeah, yep. He was approximately 6 foot, I'd say 180 pounds, black tank top, gray sweatpants, and had blues called rosary, a beaded cross necklace on.
Is that individual here in the courtroom?
Yes.
Could you please identify by a piece of clothing he's wearing?
Oh yeah, dark blue jumpsuit.
Your Honor, may the record reflect that the witness identified the defendant.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor. While you're the witness ID.
Sure.
Thank you. Morning, Deputy.
Morning.
At the time that you observed the black male at the gas station, you didn't know whom that was at that time, correct?
Sure.
And the name of the individual was given to you by somebody else, is that correct?
Correct.
Would you agree that the description that you gave is a pretty common description of an individual? Generic.
I would say, I guess maybe physical description, sure, but clothing is very specific to what a single person is wearing.
And you observed the vehicle approaching the Dunkin' Donuts, is that right?
No, it was at the gas pumps.
I'm sorry, let me rephrase. Your vehicle was approaching the Dunkin' Donuts?
Yeah, we're pulling into the parking lot.
So from the individual to where I'm standing, were you able to observe him closer or farther away from where I'm standing from you?
Probably the farthest distance is where I'm sitting now. We drove pretty much directly behind his car at the gas pump. So
And he's standing between the gas pump and the gas station, correct? When you observe him, his location.
yeah, from what I recall, I suppose, between the gas pump and the actual building.
And you just testified that you did not make eye contact, is that correct?
I don't remember any direct eye contact with him, no.
Okay. Your Honor, I would object to identification at this point. There's not foundation. There's not enough foundation.
You said that he was exposed to your victim or alcohol. And did you say that your view was unimpeded because, if I understand correctly, the gas pumps are like in the middle of the lot. So building is not blocked by your view.
No, the building's behind, so you're looking in the parking lot. The pumps will be on the north side of the building. The building south of that, and the entry to the parking lot is north of the pump. So we have a clear view of everything in front of the building. So it might.
Yeah, it may not come real quick. I've actually visited the gas station many times. So.
Your Honor, the deputy also did say that he does not know who Mr. Demeyers is, and therefore if he's never seen Mr. Demeyers, he can't specifically say that the person sitting in the courtroom is Mr. Demeyers. He has no other outside knowledge. And he did also just say that he got the name from somebody else who was not testified. So that's
Let's see what Mr. Buxton wants to do now.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, as you had just stated that the officer had an unimpeded view of the defendant.
I think what her argument is, though, is that the witness does not know who the defendant is, and but for someone telling him who he was, he would be unable to identify him as being Mr. Lorenzo Demeyers. That's what I think her argument is.
And I'm not asking for a direct identification of him as Mr. Demeyers, I'm just asking for the identification of the individual that he saw that day. I'm not saying that this is necessarily the name, but he saw the individual. He had an unimpeded view of the individual.
I don't think you actually asked him that question. So the question is, do you recall the African American male that you saw on August 6, 2023? Do you recall that person, and is that person sitting in the courtroom at the point? And you said was wearing the blue overall. Yes, but you don't have any independent way of being able to say what his name is.
After investigation, that's how I found out what his name was. But at the time, the gentleman sitting there is who I saw at the gas pump.
And Your Honor, I can lay further foundation for the identification name-wise, but I'm just looking for actual identification based off of visual.
So whatever you want to do in terms of following up, go ahead.
Just for clarification, Your Honor.
Following up to show that you know certain names.
Okay. So you said this happened at the gas station?
Yeah, where I originally saw him, yes.
Is there video footage at that gas station?
Yes. What drew you to his attention? Because it seems like a fairly generic situation if you just went into the gas station. I know that you're in the middle of training deputy out, so you probably are pointing out things to him as part of his training, but what drew you to the attention for did he draw your attention?
Yeah, so in Valley Township, we handle stolen cars all the time, it's pretty common. So we oftentimes go where we find them is parking gas stations, parking lots, things of that nature. So when we pulled in, originally I just saw him as just looking into the parking lot. I saw him standing next to the vehicle. What drove our attention to, I guess per se, him and the vehicle is that had a temporary tag on it, which for my training usually is consistent with a possible stolen car if it doesn't have actual Michigan license plate of some sort of face to the back of it. So that was our original reason that just kind of raised an eyebrow at him and the vehicle.
Can I pick up on that?
Yes, Your Honor. Where did you see the defendant get into the vehicle at that time, or the individual get into the vehicle at that time?
Yes.
In what seat?
Address.
Did you see him drive off?
Yes.
You had stated that in your training experience, a temporary tag is usually an indication that a car may be stolen. Did you look into that temporary tag?
We attempted to, but it was unreadable from us just driving by and stopped directly behind it. They can be fairly lengthy in numbers and letters, so we didn't get the entire temporary tag plate off.
Was there anything else wrong with the vehicle at that time?
I had dark window tint on it, I remember.
At that point, did you attempt a stop of the individual?
So originally, we saw the vehicle. The gentleman that was next to the vehicle was kind of walking around it, big into it originally at first. When he entered the vehicle, from what I remember, he backed out from he was facing north towards, I guess the embankment grass area, but I guess it took one over the area, he was go forward and go up to the exit. He reversed and went out to the east exit entrance that's connected to the college road. At that point, we were pulling to the exit exits on Holt Road. When that vehicle stopped, reversed back, when it saw us gonna enter the road at pretty much the same time, but on the Holt Road to college. At that point, reversed back and went into the around building into the drive-through for the double donuts connected to the gas station. Regulation. So at that point, we parked across the street, vehicles in the drive-through for about, I'd say 5 minutes, and then it pulled and went eastbound on Holt Road. That's when we attempted to stop it.
And just for clarification, why did you wait 5 minutes for the vehicle?
Just because of the behavior from when he observed our patrol car going to enter the road at the same time, and then reversing back into the parking lot from the entrance and going back into the drive-through raises suspicions for us. Usually that's consistent with somebody who was trying to avoid police and making not normal maneuvers for a car, backing back in after they were already originally in the parking lot before we got there. And then we're going to leave once they saw us leaving at the same time, back up and then went back to the drive-through. So that kind of raised suspicions with us on top of A, the illegal window tint, and B, the temporary tag, which like I stated before, can be consistent with stolen vehicle. So we were just taking all that stuff into account and figured we'd try to investigate a little bit more.
So when the vehicle ended up getting onto the road, your vehicle ended up going right behind it?
Correct.
At that point, did you attempt a stop?
So we actually just our vehicle behind it, we were trying to get the tent tag, but again, it's very hard to do. I don't know if you guys are familiar with what a tent tag looks like from dealership. They can be very fine print, trying to see when expiration date is and everything like that. So we spent some time traveling behind the vehicle eastbound on Holt Road, at which point the vehicle began to make some lane changes, which for us is consistent with somebody who does not want a police car behind them. So making some lane changes, it would slow down and actively was going to turn into Aspen Lakes, which is a apartment complex, townhome complex in the township. Slow down, actively was going to turn there, didn't continue to travel eastbound, like it was going to turn on Depot Street, continue to switch lanes, at which point we're now approaching a 35-mile-per-hour zone, goes from 55 to 35 as it gets into a residential area, at which point we were approaching Dime Manor, which is a trailer park township, slowed as if it was going to turn to there, at which point we attempted to initiate a traffic stop on it, and accelerated in speed, and continued eastbound, not stopping for our lights or signs.
So I just wanted to clarify, there were sirens, you did put the sirens on the vehicle?
Yes.
You did put the lights on the vehicle?
Yeah, our emergency overhead lights.
And the vehicle continued to drive?
Yes.
Did the vehicle pick up and speed at all?
It did. From what I remember, we may have been traveling a little bit over the speed limit going into the 35 zone, but nothing that was indicating it was accelerating at the time. Once we turned our emergency overhead lights on, the vehicle immediately picked up speed, at which point we activated our siren, and then continued to accelerate eastbound on Holt Road until it got to Cedar and north on Cedar and so on and so forth.
About how fast was it going to your memory on Holt Road?
I want to say it was around 70 miles per hour.
Was it going faster or slower when it got to Cedar Street?
I believe it was going faster. I don't remember the specific speeds, but it was faster than 70.
Would that be in your police report?
It should have been. I haven't.
Would this refresh your recollection if I were to show you the police report? Your Honor, I'm approaching you.
Yep. So
Don't read off the report.
okay. Just
Has your recollection been refreshed?
yes.
What was the speed that the defendant was going on Holt Road?
It was 7 miles per hour.
What was the speed that the defendant was going on Cedar Street?
Excuse me, approximately 100.
Did the vehicle?
Just so the record is clear, I'm familiar with the area, but just what is the speed limit on Holt Road?
So Holt Road, it turns in on Holt Road said it was 35, so it's 55 near Dunkin' Donuts traveling when you get off the highway in that area. Then it goes down to 35 pretty much at Depot Street.
Well, you said that that's what started the residential area.
Yeah.
And then you come to the trailer park.
Yeah.
And probably about a quarter mile away is Cedar Street.
Yes.
And then he had north or south.
It was north on Cedar Lanes.
So he was going 100 miles per hour on that street.
Correct.
And what was the speed to your recollection on that street?
45 from my recollection.
Did you end up stopping the vehicle?
No, we were not able to.
Did you end up stopping the chase then?
Yeah, we terminated because of the speeds and driving the traffic flow in that area.
Did you end up going back to the gas station after this?
Yes.
And why was that?
To see if we could get footage of the suspect that got into the vehicle, see if he used anything with the identification, like if he used some sort of ID by alcohol or used a credit card with a name on it, things of that nature.
And were you able to get anything like that?
Yes, so we got CCTV footage of the suspect inside the store. He actually didn't use any, I think I won't use cash and gift card device items, so there's nothing there as far as any identification process as far as him using an ID or credit card, but we did get CCTV footage of him inside the store. And
What did you do with that CCTV footage?
we captured it, we were sent the footage, I want to say it was on a thumb drive from the manager of the Dunkin' Donuts gas station. We collected that, we downloaded it, it was uploaded to evidence.com, we just took still photos of it, of the suspect and the suspect vehicle. And then sent it out, we distributed it to RTO command, which is pretty typical procedure for us. A lot of times they recognize somebody maybe from coming to jail, so we send those still photos to them to see if they are able to ID that subject.
Did you end up getting a name based off of this?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor, the CCTV video is a record of the gas station, and I would object to this officer testifying on that basis, on that identification.
Response.
Your Honor, the officer went to the gas station. They received the CCTV footage. I'm not introducing,
Talking about objection, you have response to the objection.
Your Honor, I'm not introducing the CCTV footage or the photos at this point in time, so I'm not quite sure what the objection is.
Want to respond to this lack of clarity as to which objection is?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Buxton is attempting to use a business record that comes from the gas station to establish a name that is associated with the matter that is in front of this court. And without that manager there,
It's a little bit more subtle than that. What he's really doing is saying that I have obtained information that I distributed to people in law enforcement. It provided me with a hit, positive identification for the defendant, and that's how I was able to develop the name based upon taking the CCTV images, breaking them down into snapshots, and then distributing them. That's what your testimony is, right? Yes.
Your Honor, we still need the manager of the gas station to lay the foundation that what the deputy received is the CCTV footage from that day, and that it was kept in the proper course of business as they do the CCTV before it was given to the deputy. Without that information, we cannot continue with the testimony.
Okay, I'm going to disagree with you because I think that what Mr. Buxton is arguing is how the process worked in terms of how he came to the identification. There's no question about some sort of chain of testimony or evidence with regard to manager and what he provided to the officer. The officer is just saying, okay, what I did was I received this, and the images are consistent with what I saw when I was at the gas station, and then I provided snapshots of those images to my brother in law enforcement, and I came back with a hit, so I'm going to allow for testimony.
Thank you, Your
The
Honor.
objection's overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor. Based off that name that you received, what did you do with that name?
I created the law enforcement information network with a name provided for me from jail staff. At that point, I was able to pull up the Secretary of State license photo ID photo that they take. That was consistent with the subject that I personally observed as well as my partner that day. That got into the vehicle that subsequently fled from us.
So the lien information was for the Secretary of State, and Secretary of State forwarded back a hit for that same image.
So when we query a name in law enforcement information network, sorry, when we query a name and date of birth, it pops up. If they have one, sometimes they don't have a license for a while, but they'll pop up their license photo that appears on either their state ID or a driver's license, operator's license. That was consistent with the subject that I saw. So we didn't actually send anything to the Secretary of State. It's just their Secretary of State photo that they took that is in the program.
Okay, thank you.
What was that name?
One of the Myers.
Thank you. No further questions.
Ever make contact with Mr. Buxton?
I wasn't here never to find a good address phone number for him. So
How were you aware that he became detained by officers?
No.
Never. So you're just kind of surprised that you're here today?
yeah, actually, I know that because I believe states in the report, it was either the night after or 2 days after another pursuit was initiated with the same vehicle by a different deputy. But I was never made aware that I had made contact with them. So
As you said here today, there's no doubt in your mind that the gentleman that you saw who had engaged in sort of suspicious behavior that drew your attention is the same gentleman sitting that comes to the table at this point.
no, there's no doubt.
Yes, Nicole, you're with us.
Thank you, Your Honor. Morning again, Deputy.
Sure.
From your recollection in your report, this incident occurred approximately after midnight, so 1500, is that fair to say?
Yeah, I don't remember the specific time, but yeah, it was later in the night.
I'm not really good at military time, by the way,
12:15 midnight.
so you might just want to say that, so otherwise I might get lost.
Understand that I can revert from military time for the record. You had stated on direct with Mr. Buxton that despite seeing the temporary tag at the gas station, the lights and sirens were not initiated immediately.
No.
There was a 5-10 minute window. You followed the vehicle
I wouldn't say it was probably closer to when are you saying we're on the roadway?
on the roadway.
It wasn't 5 to 10 minutes. I'd say it was probably 2 to 3 traveling from the Dunkin' Donuts to the area that we attempted to initiate traffic stop. It's like maybe a mile or two. This stretch of road there.
And you stated that the temp tag is a large series of letters and numbers combination.
Yes.
Okay. And to your knowledge, there's not a way to partially check a temporary tag in me.
There can be, but we didn't get enough from the temp tag from our initial observations to get enough to even run a partial search on that temp tag.
When in that 5 minute from the gas station to Dunkin' Donuts, your patrol car to the vehicle was closer or further away than I am to you.
It's in the parking lot.
When you were following him to the Dunkin' Donuts on the road, how far away was your patrol car from the vehicle?
When we were following him from the Dunkin' Donuts.
Correct.
Our patrol car was probably probably from me to you. Probably.
Okay, so same distance, not closer or further away.
It could have been closer or farther away at some point, but we were never that far away from it, I guess, to the point where we could see the vehicle rather.
And the footage that we had talked about on direct, that came from the gas station manager.
Yes.
And you don't have any knowledge of how they maintain the CCTV video at the gas station?
I'm not sure.
You
If I understand the
don't,
question.
sure, I'll rephrase. You don't know what their procedures of how they convert their commands and their CCTV video to the USB. You don't know how that process
No.
happens. And your testimony on direct is that you did not specifically identify a name to the image. You heard that from somebody else.
Correct. Yeah.
Right, I have no further questions for cross-examination. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Buxton.
Additional one, Mr. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time. Sure, I would.
Yes, Your Honor. We'll call,
This gentleman to leave the courthouse. I don't have it for the use today.
he can be excused.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you.
The people call Lieutenant Jason Butler. Thanks.
I think this is actually some changes. Sir, if you come around to the witness chair, please. And I can get you to raise your right hand, please. You swear or affirm that the information that you provide to the court is eligible. Please come see. Get your complete name and spell out the first and last name, please.
Jason, Jason, Buckner, B-U-C-K-N-E-R,
What's your rank?
Lieutenant,
Questions for the lieutenant?
Thank you, Your Honor. Lieutenant Buckner, how are you employed?
with the Sheriff's Office in the Corrections Division,
How long have you been employed there?
18 years.
Were you working back on October 8th of 2023?
On that day specifically, or employed
In
by-
the, were you employed with, within your course of employment in the month of August in that year, last year, did you receive any kind of photographic stills from Deputy Luckett?
Yes, I did.
What was that still in regards to, if you can remember?
It was in regards to an image that he was trying to identify someone, and I don't remember. I believe it was a fleeing eluding charge.
What did you do with this photo?
I have a team of my staff that analyzes data throughout the facility for specific things. I sent out an email to my staff, and quickly I received responses as to identification of a possible suspect.
What did you do with that identification?
After we receive a name, we put a lineup together of folks that we believe it was. We look at images of previous bookings, and from all of the SRMS data that we have, we look at images of previous bookings of the said defendant, and we're able to identify him as such.
So based off this lineup, who did you believe to be the individual that was in the still that Deputy Luckett sent?
Lorenzo de Myers.
I think I made a misstep in this. Who was the actual person that you skills?
I viewed them initially, and then it gets sent out to my staff that in email form,
Okay.
and then I actually received several responses from my staff that
So this was basically a show up. It was just a gathering of pictures that were produced.
it was an initial picture by Deputy Luckett from somewhere that he got the image, either during arrest or
Tailgaters.
Yeah.
What's up?
yes,
Yes,
and then he sent me that image. After that, it's sent out to my staff. They believe who they believe it is, and then we put a lineup together of who we believe it is. And
So is this an actual corporal lineup with people, or is it still?
no,
a
no,
show-up?
it's a. I believe Mr. de Myers has been incarcerated 15 separate times since 2017. So we took all of his previous booking pictures and looked at identifying factors of those compared to the image that Deputy Luckett had sent.
And ultimately, you came to the decision that the defendant was
Yes,
Lorenzo de Myers.
we
Was
believed, in fact, it was Lorenzo de Myers, and we forwarded that information on to Deputy Luckett.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Morning, Lieutenant. I want to kind of go back a little bit on how this show up process works a little bit. So the stills from that Deputy Luckett are given to you, and those were from the gas station.
He gave me a still photo. I don't know where it was from particularly. It was I get emails from and bulletins from around the state that to me, and then I send them out to my staff. The one that Deputy Luckett was sent me the bulletin, I sent it out to my staff. I don't know where the image was from, but yes, it was a still image.
Just so I understand, the first step in the lineup process that we just went through is you getting the still from Deputy Luckett, and those stills are sent out to your staff. Is that accurate?
Correct.
And then there's this second step where you get the feedback from that initial email.
Correct.
Then the third step is when you integrate other people that it could be besides the person that you're initially thinking that it could be. Is that accurate?
Say that one more time.
The third step when I say is that you see other booking photos. Those include other people that are not perceived to be the suspect.
Once
as
I
well?
once I get my staff's response as to who they believe it is, if it be one person, more than one person, etc., then we would put up a lineup and look at identifying factors. I received several emails within that same day and Mr. Myers' name was the only name that came back as that. So that's why we pulled all of his previous booking photos and looked for identifying factors.
Does your procedure not require you to include other people irrespective of the responses you got from the staff?
Not on that type of a lineup. We identify, we look for, like I said, the identifying factors, and then we forward the information to the requested party that they requested.
Are the same people on the email chain also involved in the booking corporal lineup that you talked about on direct? Or we're talking about the same group of people?
What do you mean by booking corporal lineup?
The booking photos that you looked at, you referenced that you pulled about 15 different booking photos of the suspect. Are the same staff that were on the email in step 2 of the process, same people that are looking at the booking photos and later on in the process?
Yes, the email that gets sent out is to all 72 correction staff that we have.
So it's the same group of people, just so I'm clear.
They receive the email, yes.
And from those other conversations is where you derive that that the suspect was identified.
From the email that I sent out, they identify who they believe it is. They return that email to me. Yes, then the lineup is put together of, all right, this was this fellow that information we received. That lineup was put together, and then we as a group say, yes, there's identifying factors here, and it's him.
So it's more of a group thing, like it's not that you specifically didn't make a determination, the group thing kind of.
Yes.
Your Honor, I have no further questions for cross-examination.
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Lieutenant. Appreciate your time.
Ms. Winston, excuse me.
We'll have you for the witness, so you can submit it.
Correct, I'm resting it, sorry.
You want to call the witness?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Lieutenant, you don't have to go out. You can stay in. So I guess we're at the point of argument then.
Correct, Your Honor.
What's jury instruction? Lieutenant?
It would be 13.6C, Your Honor.
See if I can locate that. 13
6C. Fleeing and eluding the third degree.
Go right here.
Thank you. We believe that we have met our burden. We ask you bind over on the charges in the complaint. As I had just stated, the defendant is charged with fleeing and eluding the third degree, and the jury instruction for that is 13.6c. The first element under this jury instruction is that an officer was in uniform and performing his lawful duties, and that any vehicle driven by the officer was identified as a law enforcement vehicle. You heard from Deputy Luckett that on August 6, 2023, he was on road patrol on that day in the township of Delhi, and during that shift, he was wearing his police uniform and in a department marked and issued vehicle, Your Honor. The second element is that the defendant was driving the motor vehicle. You heard from Deputy Luckett that he had a chance to look at the defendant prior to the defendant driving the motor vehicle. And as you heard very clearly, he stated he had no doubt in his mind that the driver of that vehicle is the person that is in court right now. Additionally, you heard about the process from Lieutenant Buckner, that the stills that Deputy Luckett had received were sent to him and his team that were able to identify the defendant as Mr. DeMyers based off of the stills and comparing them to the MBRIS photo as well as the photo of the in-custody photos taken of the defendant. The third element is that the officer ordered the defendant to stop his vehicle. Once again, you heard from Deputy Luckett that the sirens and lights were both turned on to attempt to stop the defendant for illegal tint as well as an unreadable template on Holt Road, Your Honor. The fourth element is that the defendant knew of that order. It is clear from the testimony that the defendant knew of the order. You heard that as soon as the lights and the sirens went on, the defendant started speeding. He started speeding as high as 70 miles per hour on Holt Road and ended up going as fast as 100 miles per hour on Cedar Street. This is the behavior of an individual that knows the police want him and does not want to get caught. The fifth element, Your Honor, is that the defendant refused to obey the order by trying to flee or avoid being caught. Once again, it's clear, Your Honor, from Deputy Luckett's testimony, he never ended up stopping the defendant. The defendant did flee and avoid being caught by speeding over 100 miles an hour to get away from Deputy Luckett. The sixth and final element is that some portion of the violation took place in an area where the speed limit was 35 miles per hour or less. And once again, you heard from Deputy Luckett that when the lights and sirens were first put on the vehicle, that was on Holt Road in the 35 mile per hour area. So it started in the 35 miles per hour area, Your Honor. And therefore, we have proven this case under the probable cause standard and ask that you bind over on the charges in the complaint. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just for clarification, the complaint that we received from our office is charges of fourth degree. It's my understanding based on testimony that Mr. Buxton is attempting to increase it to a third degree. My notes reflect that at some point, Deputy Luckett mentioned that there was a 45 mile per hour sign when the suspect is alleged to have gone over 70. There was some conversation and there was some testimony about residential areas being driven by the vehicle. However, my notes reflect that it was once we got to a 45 mile an hour zone that the lights and sirens were off and they were monitoring the 70 and 100 that were testified to. So I would object to an increase at third degree on that basis. I have it charged under the complaint as a fourth degree. I understand from Mr. Buxton's bind over agreement, he's asking for third degree. My argument is that there was not testimony to establish that when the signal was given, that any part of the violation occurred in an area that was 35 miles an hour or less, which would be the requirement this court would have to find to elevate it to third.
Because I don't know if Mr. Buxton did that intentionally. Were you intentionally trying to increase it to a third degree?
And I am, Your Honor. I am trying to increase it to the third degree. So I apologize, Your Honor. I am attempting to increase it to the third degree.
But you didn't say that at the outset.
And that is correct, Your Honor. I apologize.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. As the Deputy Luckett testified, he does not have any other information about Mr. DeMyers other than information he received outside from other people. I do understand the court disagrees with our position with regards to CCTV video, but for the purpose of the bind over, I would like to restate again that it is essential that the CCTV video that was relied on by Detective Luckett did not come from him. He's not a custodian of the gas station, therefore cannot specifically testify that what he received on USB drive is actually from that date.
I understand what the rationale is behind why I said that. It doesn't matter where he got the identification from, because what he's testifying from is his own personal recollection of who he saw at the gas station. The fact that somebody else provided him with the name is only important in terms of being able to try and do further investigation. So once he had the name, he could find information about where the whereabouts or the likely whereabouts, but even at that, they weren't able to find him. It was only after somebody else was pursuing him on a different situation that they discovered where he was.
Your Honor, I understand what you're saying, but because even the start of it is a photo that has not been verified by someone from the gas station, that then leads to Deputy Luckett giving it to the state and having it identified by that team.
It doesn't matter. The information can come from whatever source. The only thing that he's really relying on that information for is the name of the person. He's not relying on it for the identification. So once he had a name and they provided him with that name, that's when somebody else went out and did what they did in terms of trying to secure him. He just is in a position to say, I know that this is the guy who saw the gas pump. This is the same guy who's driving the car that eluded me. So it doesn't really matter if he does not know the name of the person. He knows the name now because of his investigation after the time. But that is hardly any reason to suppress the identification based on the fact that he was just provided a name. He can look at the gentleman's date in the courtroom, and it's not necessary for him to have a name for him. Say, oh, that's the guy right there. Gas station right there. Doesn't even need to be linked back to the picture that came from the gas station. That's the guy. So the fact that he does not know the name or that the name was provided by the lieutenant sort of just incidental because the lieutenant here to identify the name. So what we're looking at is probable cause to believe that this is the person who eluded. He knows that from the fact that that's who he followed out of the gas station. So it doesn't really hinge on the images from the gas station. It's from his own personal recollection of what he saw. So,
Your Honor, I understand that we disagree on this point, and we are certainly willing to continue that discussion with the prosecutor's office and filing motions in circuit court regarding the ID and on that basis. But I maintain for the purpose of the exam that is not sufficient for probable cause. I understand we disagree. So that's fine, Your Honor. With respect to the part of the case, Deputy Luckett stated on testimony that the car was followed for several minutes in an attempt to get the plate. At that point, there was no other lights and siren. It's certainly probable at that point that if they had a serious concern about it being stolen, the lights should have been started at that point. And again, I'd ask the court not to find over, not to increase at this point.
Remember what the testimony was, that the way to run an identification on the vehicle is through the paperwork that was on the back of the car, temporary plate, and that he said that he could never get close enough to be able to get all the information to run it. He said that he could see some of it, but it was not enough to be able to run and get information on the vehicle. So at least that's what my recollection of the testimony was.
Yes, Your Honor, and I understand the court's position on that. My point on that is that there was a concern about the car being stolen at any point. Some of the license sirens could have been initiated immediately at the first attempt of not being able to read the plate. I maintain based on the testimony of my notes that the 6 elements to make it a third has not been met, and I ask the court not to bind over. Thank you.
Robinson, do you have a report?
Just briefly, Your Honor, I believe Your Honor specifically asked the deputy at what the speed limits were, and from my recollection, the deputy stated that the stop started at the 35-mile-an-hour section of Holt Road. So I asked you to bind over for the fleeing third. Thank you.
Actually, a rather simple case. I don't know why it feels more complicated than it really is. Just need to be able to establish that there's probable cause to believe that felony occurred and that the defendant is a person committed the felony. As I've already explained that ad nauseum, the deputy Pluckett had an unimpeded view of the person in the gas station that drew his attention, and he drew his attention because he did things that were inconsistent with the person just going about their business. That he was backing out of the space as opposed to going forward with the space due to deputy attention. That the fact that he was about to leave out of the gas station and then instead circle back to go back into the line at the Dunkin' Donuts, which is attached to the building that the gas station existed. That they actually waited for him to come out of the gas station because it was suspicious because of the behavior of the defendant. That they engaged in pursuing the car, I believe, because they didn't feel like they had enough cause to stop the car, just because it looked weird what the driver was doing. That the case actually took place on Holt Road, and the testimony was that at the point where they first engaged with the defendant, the speed limit was 45. That he testified very clearly that his recollection is that the speed limit dropped down to 35 miles an hour when you entered a more residential area of Holt Road, which is located, I believe he said, at Depot Street, which is near where the trail park is. So he had a specific recollection of what was going on, and his testimony was that irrespective of the speed limit being 35 miles an hour, that the vehicle was traveling 70 miles an hour following Holt Road. That despite that fact, they still were not able to pull him over once he had engaged his lights and sirens, which is a command from the officer to stop. He's in a fully marked car. Seems like it was very clear that they understood that it was a marked car. That he understood that it was a marked car when he was being surveilled at the gas station, which caused him to probably do what he did in terms of evasive maneuvers to come out of the gas station at a later point, as opposed to traveling right directly out of the gas station when it looked like he was going to do that. At least that's what drew the officer's attention to. So I'll go back to that point. But irrespective of the lights and sirens being activated, they were not able to pull the car over. And I don't know how you not see the lights on behind you because they are all in your mirrors. You probably have at least 2 mirrors, if not 3 mirrors, that have the flashing going on. So it's hard to not see it. And then, of course, to have the sirens going, and the sirens are designed so that people inside of a vehicle with the windows rolled up can hear that there's a siren. Otherwise, sirens are no good. Why even have a siren if you can, not hear them when the windows up? There will be all kinds of accidents happening because of how emergency vehicles have to assume that they have the right of way trying to be able to alert people to the fact that they're coming. So I think my understanding of our jurisprudence in the state of Michigan is that the prosecutor can increase the nature of the charges to conform with what the evidence shows. And so I'll go back to the jury instruction 13.6c and say that a police officer, Officer Luckett, was in uniform as he testified to, and was on unlawful patrol at that point, on road patrol, as a training officer for Officer Allen, to my recollection, and that his car was marked adequately. Second, that the defendant was driving in a motor vehicle. Third, that the officer ordered that the defendant to stop his vehicle, and to stop again was what I was talking about a moment ago about the lights and sirens. Fourth, I think it's presumed that the defendant knew of the order because, again, the lights and sirens are designed to get the person to pull over. And that the defendant refused to do so is pretty much axiomatic in the fact that he was exceeding the speed limit on Holt Road. He was going double the speed limit of 35 miles an hour as reported by the officer, going 70 miles an hour, and then more than doubling the speed limit on Cedar Street, which is 45 miles an hour, and the officer testified that he was going approximately 100 miles an hour. Sixth, some portion of the violation took place in an area where the speed limit was 35. Well, just to beat that to death. And I don't believe that there's been any information with regard to the defendant's criminal history. I know that he has a substantial booking history of 15 arrests, but I believe that there's probable cause on this record to bind over with regard to the charge of fleeing and eluding third, and also the original charge of fleeing and eluding fourth. So, any questions with regard to the offer, Mr. Buck?
Your Honor, there is no plea deal at this point in time.
Any question with regard to bond?
Your Honor.
Your Honor, Mr. DeMeyers has a pending matter in front of Judge Aquilina. His bond will be converted to a PR bond once a PSI interview is completed. I would ask the court for a modification so that once his PSI is completed, he is able to be released on bond.
Your Honor, my understanding in regards to that case in Aquilina is that the defendant failed to appear for the PSI, which is why he is now currently in custody. Give me 1 second, Your Honor. I believe that this was actually a case from 2022 that he was fleeing on, but I want to double check that, Your Honor, so give me just 1 moment.
I believe we're talking about the current doing it now, not the previous one.
Yes, Your Honor, this is the case in front of Aquilina is a 2019 home invasion case. The people are concerned that there is a history of failing to appear based off of that, so I believe the bond is properly set in this case, Your Honor.
Okay. Let's hear back from Ms. Nichols.
Thank you, Your Honor. From reading the notes from our office, the new bond included that a new PSI be completed by pretrial services or period of probation. From what I am reading, that it will convert. So as long as Mr. DeMeyers meets with somebody, even while he is in custody, that would satisfy the conditions of Judge Aquilina. And that is why I am asking for a reduction so that once he does meet with whomever pretrial services period circuit and completes that PSI, he can be released.
No, I think that I feel a little bit concerned about Mr. DeMeyers in the fact that he was driving in such a reckless fashion. I'm actually going to increase his bond to $11,000 cash. Double the speed limit. that's a disregard for not only the officers, but for human life. Those are heavily trafficked areas that he was speeding through. And if he's going to be released, I want to make sure that we have a sufficient bond to ensure that he is not only going to show up for future proceedings with Judge Applin or whoever is handling his cases, but that we have some sort of acknowledgement by him that this is serious, that me taking this action today will lead him to actually think more seriously about his behavior. So I'm going to increase his bond. Mr. Buxton, I don't remember having any information provided to me that would satisfy the 6th element. No, I guess it's actually the 6th thing. It says that the defendant has a prior conviction for fleeing and in 4th degree or attempted fleeing.
Your Honor, I believe that the elements are one or the other, either the previous or the 35 mile per hour. So we'd just be moving under the theory of the 35 mile per hour.
Would you agree with that, or would you disagree with that, Ms. Nichols?
Can you take a look at the instructions in here?
It looks like it is actually a conjunction between the paragraphs. That it could be that there was an accident or a collision, that it could be that there was a violation within 35 mile per hour zone, or that the defendant has prior conviction.
I see it as Your Honor, I don't see that 3rd degree itself would lend to a previous conviction.
Right. So I'll bind over on the amended charge of being the 3rd. Okay, is that a different pack code, by the way?
That would be, Your Honor. I can give that to you when you're ready.
Okay, go right here.
That is 750.479A3.
A3.
A3.
Apple.
A is an apple.
The statute is 750.479.
479A, Your Honor.
479. All right, anything else for purposes of the record for the people?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Ms. Nichols?
Your Honor, thank you.
What do you have next?
That's a great question, Your Honor.
Well, let's ask you. Then you should have an idea. What do we have next? Let's take a break. Is that right?
Works for me.